Uh, so welcome to this week's Scary Sundays to Boundless Mondays call. I've had some questions come in about the conscious sun. So once I've taken questions from the amazing people that are here, then I can move on to those questions if we have time. So guys that are here live on the call, did you have any questions? You can just unmute yourself or you can just pop them in the chat if you've got something you'd like. I've literally just realized I was on mute. So what I was saying was, if you guys have any questions that you want me to answer for you, feel free to pop them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and I'll be happy to go through them for you. Okay, Lilith, thank you. The Mercury placement. Okay, the planets and the placements. So let me take a step back. The city of my vocation is transparency. And oh, here we go. Excuse me one moment. Is transparency. And there are certain parts of the human design chart I know really well, and there are certain parts that I don't know so well. And those planet placements are one of them. So I can't go into it super deeply. But what I do know is one of the support coaches that I work with, Randy Lee, just messaged me and let me know that gate 39 has just moved out of, is no longer defined in Mercury. It was, but it no longer is. But some of those energies are still hanging around, that kind of provoking energy, that provocation in communication, which I've experienced myself this morning. So having said all that, it's really useful to look at the transits, to look at the daily transits. So we can do that. Let me share my screen and I'll show you guys how to run those transit charts. Let me just move that up there. So I tend to do this. I don't tend to do it every day because some of the transits are slower than others. So sometimes it doesn't change too much, but particularly for, say, today. So I'm in a launch period today. I'm going to go in and run the transit chart. If you're, you're about to go on vacation or something big is about to happen in your life, or you're about to coach someone, it's really interesting to have a look at what the transits are doing. So you can create this connection chart between their chart and the transits. So let me just show you in Genetic Matrix. You can go to Foundation Transit. So this will show us what cosmic weather we're being exposed to today. And then you can have a look at the connection chart between the two of you. So for instance, for me, I naturally have gate 35 defined, this gate of experience. And now gate 36 is defined in the transit. So that completes this channel of transitoriousness, transitoriousness. It's also called, my coach calls it the drama queen channel, because gate 36 is this gate of crisis. And then gate 35 is the gate of experience. So it's this experiencing this crisis, this crisis of emotions that are then expressed through the throat. So this channel has been defined for quite some time, if my memory serves me correctly. So this drama queen channel. So when you're feeling, particularly if you don't normally have an emotional wave defined, if all of a sudden this emotional wave is defined for you or it's defined for a client, then it's much easier to understand, okay, well, why am I feeling these waves of emotions? Why am I immediately turning everything into a crisis? So it could well be the transit. So they're really, really interesting places to look. And another thing that we can look at in the transits is, for instance, just make sure there's no one else coming in. For instance, these format channels, these are really interesting channels in general. And when they're highlighted in the transits, they can really have a huge impact on your design. Because these format channels, if you have them in your design, they override everything else. They are such strong energies because they're the start of the circuitry, because they run from the root to the sacral. So anytime you have one of these format channels defined, they create this very distinct energy, this very powerful energy. So for instance, I normally have the 360 define, this channel of mutation. And in the transits, it's defined even more for me, because you can see this gate 60 is defined as well. So normally gate 60 is unconscious for me. Today it's conscious. So that whole channel is having me understand that I can create these big transformations, but also the pauses are really important as well, because that's where the transformation happens, is in the pauses. So that's a quick trip around those, around that transit chart. So Lilith, thank you for your question. It's not an area that I'm super familiar with, because I find that with human design and gene keys, you tend to be drawn more to one area than another. And you tend to get curious about that area. So for me, it's profiles and format channels. They're really fascinating to me, but everyone has kind of their own thing when it comes to human design. So I hope that did help. Let me just check the chat. That channel is defined from my business chart. Okay, so the 3536, that drama queen channel, is that the one that's defined? That's interesting. That's interesting. If that's defined in your business chart, then that will give you great. So that will give you an opportunity to say, okay, well, I know that when I'm working in my business, when I'm in that energy, if that channel's defined, I have access to that energy. So if there's times in my business, I'm feeling that kind of crisis, that gate of crisis, and wanting to voice it, then that's the energy of your business. And it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It just is. You know, it will also help you voice those emotions when that 3536, when you've got access to that, it will help you voice those emotions in your business. So it's really powerful to be able to understand those. So great. Thank you for that. You don't mind. It's just definitely there. Yeah, I love that. I love that when we have this approach to human design, that we're either lacking or we're too much in one area than another. I sometimes hear people say, oh, I wish I had a defined ego center, or I wish I had a defined head center. But we're perfectly designed exactly as we are. And to want to have energy that you don't naturally have access to, that would be a difficult energy for you to hold. For instance, I have this open ego center, and when I'm around somebody with a defined ego center, for instance, my coach has a defined ego center, and we were in a session a couple of weeks ago where we were going backwards and forwards, and we were talking about a particular situation, and I literally felt her defined ego center. It was a wave of energy that I felt really strongly physically. And that kind of said to me, when you wish to have something you don't naturally have, it's jarring. Like that energy was jarring to me in a good way, because it provoked me to talk about something else. But our energy is exactly as it should be. Hi, Julianne. How do I find out what the energy of my business is? That's a really good question. So what you can do is you can run a human design chart for any moment in time. So the day or the time when you consider your business to have started, you can run a human design chart for that. So let me show you. I'll start off by I'll see if I can find mine for my business that I ran. Here it is. Ooh. Oh, just saw Oscar's Oscar's reflector chart then. Okay, so this is the energy of my business. So 14th of July 2020 at 6 a.m. That was when I first had the idea for this business, this kind of download. So that's the time that I used. It's when it first came into my reality. If your business has been going for a while, you can use, for instance, the date your first payment came in, or you can use the date you registered your domain name. So use your intuition to feel into that. When do I consider my business to have started? and then you can run a chart for it. And then you can also run a connection chart between yourself and your business, so you can see what energy you're exposed to when you're working in your business. So if it would help, I can run that connection chart between me and my business, and I can take you through it so you can see how my energy works at the moment, because I'm working in my business at the moment. So the other thing you can do is, Liliana, it was the first post that I made as my business. Yeah. Anytime that you consider your business to have started, that's when you can run your chart for. Okay, Julianne, I'll do that. No problem. You can also run a chart for programs and offers. That's really, really powerful. So that would be the date that the idea was downloaded, the date that you first received that download. So let me show you. I have my Boundless membership, which opens in a few hours. Here we go. Okay, so this is the chart for my membership. So 5th of April this year, 6 a.m. All my ideas seem to come at 6 a.m., whether it's a business idea or a program idea. I think it's because it's when I'm first waking up, and I tend to have that download. So when you run a chart for your program or your offer, this is going to give you, it's always 6 a.m. This is going to give you a really good idea of what this program's here to do, who it's here to help, and how to market it. So I look at Boundless, and I look at gate 51, for instance, the conscious sun. Now, gate 51 is the gate of shock. So it runs, it also defines this channel as one end of the definition of this 5125. This 25 is the gate of spirit. So what this membership wants to do is shock the people that are in it, shock them in a positive way from one level of being into another. So immediately I could see, okay, right, this is going to be transformative. This is a really transformative offer. And here we've got this 360 defined, this format channel of transformation. So that just gives you a brief idea of how powerful these offer charts are particularly. Now, Julianne, let me go in and run this. I'll show you how to run these connection charts. They're really easy. Oh, Oscar's chart's still up there. He's my dog. He's just down here. So, okay. Let me have a sip of coffee and I'll show you how to do this. So if we hit connection chart, so you have to have two charts that are already created. So your chart and your business chart, for example. So let me find mine. That's my chart, and then my business chart. Can't remember what I filed it under now. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. So let's run this, and then we can see, I'll explain to you what energies I'm exposed to when I'm in my business. Here we go. Okay, so here's our connection chart. Here's my chart here, and anything in the connection chart that is orange is my energy. And then we have my business over here. So anything that is blue is the energy of my business. And this shows me how our energies blend when we're working, when I'm working in the kind of container of my business. So the first thing I'm going to look at is this connection theme. 8 to 1, have some fun. And basically that means that when I'm in my business, working in my business, that I have 8 centers defined and 1 center completely open. Now, whether you have 7 to 2 or 6 to 3 or 8 to 1 or 9 to 0, nothing's good, nothing's bad. It just gives you an insight into how to work with it. So the first place I look at is this open ego center. I go, oh, that's interesting. My business has an open ego center, and so do I. So that can either be one of two extremes. It can either be a place of kind of neutrality, of calmness and stillness, or it can be a kind of flashpoint because we both have this same energy. This is probably more relevant if you're running a connection chart between yourself and somebody else. So your partner or someone that you're thinking of hiring, somebody that you work with, or a business partner. Because if you know that this area of willpower, competition, worth, value, desire, if you know that that could either be a place of neutrality, or in the extreme, it could be a flashpoint, that's really valuable information. Because like I said before, when my coach has got this defined ego center, and when I'm around her, I feel that energy really strongly. And if I didn't know what that energy was, it would be quite confusing to me. So if you, for instance, have an open ego center, and somebody that you're thinking of hiring, say a VA, for instance, has a defined ego center, then you can understand how those energies all play together, and what you might feel in this kind of, I see it as like an energetic dance between the two of you. So that's one place I would look. And when I think about it, it doesn't really affect me in my business, that open ego center. The Boundless membership has a defined ego center, and that does have an effect on me. That's been triggering me. And that's another thing that I've been working through, this sense of value and self-worth. Who am I to offer this? Do I have enough value to offer? And I didn't understand what was happening at first, but now I understand that it's that defined ego center of my offer kind of triggering me, the way that it will, and that's how it shocks people from one level into another. So it just gives you that background. But back to our connection chart for our business. I would look at the head center. Normally I have an open head center, so I see all the ideas, I see everything that's kind of swirling around me. And sometimes I think it's all for me. So it's all for me to act upon. When I'm in my business, I have a very consistent access to ideas. And I feel it's like quite a clear channel that I get for ideas. I'm not seeing all the ideas and kind of trying to grasp at them and trying to work out which is for me and which isn't for me. I can say, okay, all right, now I've sat down to work. There are some very clear ideas and some very clear downloads I have about the way forward. We both have a defined Ajna center, and we both have a defined throat center. But when I'm in my business, my throat center is even more defined. A lot of people talk to me about or mention the fact, somebody said to me yesterday, I used to be a flight attendant, and somebody said to me yesterday, you absolutely have the voice of a flight attendant, that kind of announcy type of voice. And that's not the first person that said that to me. And I feel that that happens when I'm in my business, because I'm really passionate about it. My communication gets very clear. It's a really helpful example. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad this is helping. I also, with that communication piece, I also normally have a crystal to support that, to support my throat center, because when you're talking and talking, it can be challenging. And I could get carried away, and I do, in a good way, with my open throat center in my business. But I know that, I can see that on my chart. I can say, okay, yep, I understand that. So I'm going to have to do some work around my throat center to support it. So that's why I have crystals around. The next place I look at is my G center. Okay, I have a defined G center. My business has an undefined G center. So my business can be different things to different people when it's on its own. So if I'm asleep, for example, and my business is out there doing its thing, it can be different things to different people, depending on how people come across it. Are they looking at my website? Are they looking at my socials? What are they looking at? But when we come together and I'm working in my business, I have a defined ego center. So I have a very strong sense of who I am, where I'm going. And I kind of, my business gets on board with that. So I kind of rein it in and say, okay, I'm awake now. Off we go. We know who we are. It also gives me access to 3 more abundance keys than I would normally have access to. So abundance keys are these defined gates in your G center that really show you how you attract abundance and how you can support that. And when I'm on my own, I've got gate 2, the gate of reception, and gate 46, this gate of vitality, this feeling good in the body. But in my business, for instance, I've got access to gate 10, this gate of self-love. So I talk a lot about self-love when I'm in the container of my business. I always find myself coming back to that. I don't tend to reference it much when it's just me and my energy, but I do talk about it a lot in my business. And it's because it's an energy I don't naturally have access to, I can find myself talking about it in my business, and it kind of takes me by surprise because it's not what I normally do. But a lot of clients come to me with this gate 10 defined. I was talking to somebody yesterday who had this gate 10 defined. In fact, I was talking to someone yesterday, just as a side note, who had every single one of the gates in her G center defined. I haven't seen that. I haven't come across a client that's got that much energy in her G center. A question for later. What if your chart has no defined gates in the G center? What does that mean for the abundance keys? Really good question. So if you don't have any gates defined there, a lot of people assume that it means that you have issues with attracting abundance or you're not as magnetic. You absolutely are. There are just other ways of accessing it. So each of these abundance keys also has a flip side. So if I don't have it defined, how does that play out for me? And it's just as powerful as having them all defined. You just work with it in a different way. So it's more of an awareness of how you attract abundance when they're undefined than specific. Okay, well, this is how you do it. This is kind of the process you go through. But I think the assumption is, well, maybe I'm not as magnetic as other people, or I can't attract that much abundance. It just works in different ways, but they're more, it's more of a receptive energy than well, this is how it's going to be type energy, but it's definitely not less than or more than. That's a great question. Yeah, it can do. Yeah, it can depend on the situation that you're in, and it can depend on who you're around as well. So I'm thinking that you have an open G center from these questions. So it can depend who you're with and the conditioning that you've been exposed to and the environment that you're in. So really the environment, the conditioning, and the people that you're around. What are we moving on to next? The sacral center. My business has a completely open G center. That's interesting. That's interesting. So your business can be lots of different things to different people, depending on what environment it's in. So how are they accessing your business? Is it on socials? Is it, are they probably not meeting you face to face anymore, but are you talking to them? Are they hearing the energetic codes in your voice? Like what situation is it in where they're kind of interacting with your business? Yeah, interesting. Open G centers are really fascinating. It's all fascinating. The next thing that I would look at is the sacral center. So I have a very defined sacral center as it is. And then I've got 3 more gates defined, or two more gates defined. And this is defined again, this gate 3. So a lot of transformative energy, a lot of energy happening between the pulses of energy. This is really, really interesting to look at the sacral center for me. And I keep referencing me because I've got my chart in front of me, so it's easy for me to reference it like that. I have this incredibly powerful sacral center that can work and work and work and work and work and work. And when I'm in the energy of my business, it goes into overdrive. So what this says to me is, yep, you've got a lot of creative energy. You can create these incredible things, but also you need to support your energy. That's one thing I've been working on in this launch, because this sacral center, as beautiful as it is, when I'm in my business, it can really easily tip me over into exhaustion. To have that much energy defined I have to be very present and very mindful to try and take a break. And funnily enough, I use Oscar for that because he has to go out every hour or so, or he wants a snack, or he needs something. So I try and take a break when he needs something, and I stand outside and I stand in the sunlight and stand in the fresh air, because otherwise I know, and I've done it before, that I could work and work until I'm absolutely exhausted, which serves no one. And here we have these channels defined as well. There's 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 channels coming off the sacral that are defined. There's a lot of power there. So what am I responding to? That's what I'm looking at. What when I'm in the energy of my business, am I responding to that feeling of safety? How do I feel safe in my business? How do I use my intuition in my business? I could be responding to my G center. What is my business? What is the identity of my business? Defined root center. How am I meeting these deadlines? How am I responding to deadlines? How am I responding to that push to keep growing? Am I understanding that I need to take a break? Am I understanding that I need to support my energy? And how am I responding to my emotional center? How does that play out in the energy of my business? Particularly today, when that gate of crisis and that kind of drama queen channel is highlighted for me. All of those things can give you such a clear insight into why you feel the way you do in your business and why it can feel so different on one day to another day. So that's kind of a quick trip around the connection charts. They're really, really fascinating. Okay. Any other questions? I've got my coffee here. It's freezing cold this morning in Queensland. It's about 4 degrees. So that's why I've got my hands wrapped around my coffee, because it's so cold. You are so welcome. You're very welcome. Would you like me to talk about the conscious sun energy and how to market a program through that conscious sun energy? Would that help? I can use Boundless as an example and kind of take you behind the scenes of how to market it. Great. Okay. All right. Let's do that then. Let us do that. Not Boundless, Boundless. This is one of the most interesting ways, I think, to use program charts. So, like I said, we've got gate 51, this gate of shock. Now I guess I just need to choose when I consider my business is starting. Yeah. So feel into it, Julianne. Use your, what's your authority? Are you emotional, sacral, or what's your type and your authority? That would be really interesting, because that's a really good place to experiment with it. Splenic projector. You know, my energy attracts so many splenic projectors, or this membership attracts a lot of splenic projectors as well. It's crazy. I love you guys. Okay, so you have this splenic authority. So when you get quiet, you can feel that kind of hit of that splenic authority. It speaks once normally, and it's quite quiet. So if you find it's challenging to connect to that, it's really good for you to get somewhere where you're not around other people, particularly not around sacral types, because if you're around sacral types, it may be that energy is kind of pushing on you. So get somewhere quiet and get really in touch with when your business started. And it may be that you write down 3 different dates. Okay, is it when this is the date I took my first payment. This is the date I registered my domain name. This is the date I had the idea. And then just get curious with that splenic authority. And that should tell you, okay, this feels good to me. You know, the splenic authority is all about intuition. So yeah, I'd be interested to know what you come up with, like when you're, what kind of design your business is. It's always interesting to see with programs and businesses how different or how similar your charts are. It's really interesting. Okay, so this gate 51, this gate of shock. When I first ran this chart for this program, I kind of got a bit overwhelmed by it because this gate 51, I don't normally have access to. I have a completely open ego center. So it kind of felt a bit overwhelming to me. And then the shadows kind of started to appear. Can I do this? Is this an energy I can hold for people? This energy of awakening? Is this something I can do? So I've spent a lot of time kind of making friends with gate 51. I know it sounds crazy, but just understanding what it's here to do, looking at this chart and understanding how powerful these transformations can be. This energy I know. So I'm like, okay, I've got that. I know what that energy is. This energy here, the 5125, this shock of awakening, I don't know that energy. So this program is giving me an opportunity to explore that. So what I did next was I went to look at the gene key 51 and have a look at the shadow and the gift and the siddhi. And the shadow of gate 51 is, off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is. Here we go. Let me just look that up. Agitation. That's it. Agitation. So in my copy and on my stories and in my emails, I talk about this agitation. So you think I'd be able to remember it because I talk about it all the time. This agitation of being in a 9-to-5, but being really unhappy. That may be one scenario. If you're in, you feel you're kind of locked in this corporate job and you're really unhappy and you keep trying to push that unhappiness away, but it makes you really agitated, I can help you. I've been there. I know that very deeply. Or maybe you're agitated because you're happy in your job and you feel guilty because you want to leave because you want to start your own business. You know there's something else out there for you. Maybe that's how your agitation shows itself. So by understanding those, the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi of the conscious sun of your program, you can really reach the people that this program is destined to help. Because when we shine our light of this conscious sun, this gate 51 for the membership, when I'm able to express that to people, the right people come into the membership or to your offer or to your program or your coaching container, whatever that is, because they can feel that energy from you. So our conscious sun is this energy we feel from people really strongly. And it actually makes marketing and selling your program really straightforward because it takes all the kind of fuzziness out of marketing. Like I know when I'm talking about this program, I know who I'm going to help. I know I'm going to lift people out of the shadow of agitation with the help of this program. So with the gene keys, I use the gift, the siddhi, and the shadow literally everywhere so that I can reach the people that I need to reach. The gift level is initiative, this initiation, this moving from one level to another, this initiation of moving from your job into your business. How does that play out for you? That's a lot of, we've had discussions in the pop-up group about it. I've used it in my copy. And I don't like copywriting. I really don't like copywriting at all. But this really, really helps. It makes things very, very simple for me. And the other thing that you can do is once you understand what the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi of your program is, if you do have a copywriter, you can send those descriptions to your copywriter and say, okay, you're the genius. I'll leave it to you, but these are the words that I'd like to be included. This is the energy that I'd like to be infused through this copy. So although you are handing it over to someone else, you're kind of taking care of these energies and nurturing them and saying, okay, here you go. Can you please use these energies? Please express these energies. And the siddhi of gate 51 is awakening. And when I read that and I understood it, it made complete sense for the type of container that I wanted to create, this awakening. And you can tie it into your big vision. Like, so we always have a bigger vision for our businesses. It's bigger than just helping people do X or helping people achieve Y. My bigger vision is to free women from the corporate cage so that they can start these beautiful soul-led businesses and contribute to raising the consciousness of the planet, and eventually start a non-profit to rescue dogs. That's one of my passions. And that's one of the things that I want my business to be able to do. So that's the big vision. So the city of this Gate 51 of Boundless, this awakening, really made sense to me. And again, I was able to use it in my copy, not in a manipulative way, in a way that will make it really easy for the people that it's meant to help. It will make that message or help that message reach their ears and reach their intuition really clearly. So that's the gate level. And you can, if you have the Gene Keys book, or you can go onto the Gene Keys website and have a look at the definitions, then you can weave those descriptions of those energies through your copy as well. Those phrases, you can weave them through. I've got a whole masterclass about that I did on how to use your Gene Keys energies in your copy. It's really, really powerful for me because it's simple. That's why I love it. So the next thing that we look at is the line energy that it's expressed in. This gives you a really, really good idea of how to approach your marketing as well. Hi, Lilith. Yeah, it's in, you can actually only access it through Boundless because it's in the resource library for Boundless. But it's really, you can make it really simple as well. You can literally just look at those words and infuse those words into your copy. And funnily enough, well, not funnily enough, Boundless, let me tie it back here. Oop. Hold on, let me change that back to foundation chart. Boundless is the city of my conscious earth. And that was one of the reasons that I chose the name for it. So I've kind of used my Gene Keys and my offers Gene Keys and kind of fused them together. So the city of my conscious sun is timelessness, and the city of my conscious earth is boundless. So I kind of played with that. Is it timeless and boundless, timeless and boundless? And boundless felt really good to me. And I literally made the decision like that. With the masterclass I was talking about, magnetic is one of the words that kept coming up in the Gene Keys description for that masterclass. So I called it magnetic. So it's called Magnetic, the masterclass. And it just makes things so easy. Like, you don't have to agonize. It's a really fun process. It's like picking a jewel out of a lineup. Okay, I've got these beautiful energies. What do I want to call my program? And it makes it so easy. It's really fun, actually. All right, so we've looked at the gate energy. Now we look at the energy it's expressed in. So boundless is a line 1. So when I'm marketing, I'm saying, okay, this is something new. This is bold. This, I'm bringing something fresh to the collective. I haven't seen anyone else who's doing this. If they are, great. I just haven't seen them. So I'm bringing you something fresh. Also, I'm making it a safe space for you, because line 1, it brings something fresh, but it supports by saying, I'm a very bold energy, but I'm a safe place for you to be. I'm a very secure container for you to be in. And that's one of the things that I've talked about with Boundless is, okay, this transformation, this is a container where you can go through this transformation. I will walk you through it. So there's the line 1 energy, that safety and security. You're safe to be really honest and raw about why you want to leave. Maybe you're happy and you feel guilty for leaving. I've created a space where it's safe and secure for you to express that. And whenever we're going through a transformation of any type, it's like this liminal space. So what I mean by that is this space where time almost stops and you're neither one thing nor the other thing, this liminal space. And for me, that's the pauses in this pulsating transformational energy. These pauses in the mutation are like this liminal space. So if you're in this space of not being one thing or the other, I can support you. I can come in and support you because I know how that feels, because I've been there. I'm a 6-2 energy, this teaching energy. I've experienced it at a deep level. And I mostly mark it from that conscious sun and that line energy, because there's so much to say once you understand it, because it pinpoints how this program can help people, or whatever program it is, at a really deep level. Let me search for magnetic, and I can't remember what here we go, the conscious sun of magnetic was. Okay, so it was a line 1. So same type of energy. You're safe to learn this here. This is a secure place to learn this new thing. I'm bringing something new to the collective. And the shadow was dislocation. So in my copy for magnetic, I talked about your copy feeling dislocated. Does it feel dislocated from what you're trying to say? Does it feel stilted and stiff and dislocated? The gift is orientation. By going through this masterclass, you can orient yourself in these energies. You're no longer lost. This process or this system can help you get orientated and stop you feeling lost in all these energies and lost in how to talk to your audience, lost in how to write copy. I can orient you with this energy. And the Siddhi, so the highest expression, was unity. How can you bring your energies and your copy together in unity? How can you bring your program and your client together in unity? So that was a really strong energy for Boundless. So you can see how it just makes everything so much simpler when you understand these conscious sun energies and the lines that they're expressed in. It just makes marketing really, really straightforward. So I hope that helped. Do you guys have any more questions or anything? We've got about 10 minutes left. So if you have any more questions, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. Oh, Julianne, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I can't wait to see what your business chart is, Julianne. In fact, as we've got a few more minutes left, let me show you a couple of the other charts that you can look at in Genetic Matrix. So you can also look at your shadow chart. That's really interesting. So there are 3 charts I'll take you through very quickly. There's the mind chart, the body chart, and the shadow chart. So if you drop this down and just hit mind, it shows you all of your conscious energy. So this is all of your energy down the right-hand side of the chart, the energy that you're aware of, the energy that you have very easy access to. And it can also show you what design your mind side is. So sometimes if you just change it to the mind chart, you can be a different authority and a different type to your actual type when both sides are together. So my conscious side is a pure generator. I'm normally an emotional generator, but when I just look at my conscious energy, I'm a sacral generator. So again, that sacral is highlighted for me. Every chart that I look at for me, that sacral is highlighted. So then we can look at the body side and see, I think I'm the same thing there. So I'm an emotional generator there. So it's defined my emotional center. Mine aren't so different. I have done readings where, for instance, we've looked at the body chart and this person's a reflector in that side. So they're unconsciously a reflector, which is very different to their normal energy. So, or their chart when their energies are together. So that's a really interesting place to look. You can look at all the unconscious energy. For me, I look at this gate 23. This is an unconscious energy for me, which has it kind of encourages me to make things simple. I think that's why I use the word so a lot at the beginning of a sentence. Always using it. So as this kind of preface to unconsciously make things simple, really, really useful energy for me in human design. If I unconsciously want to make this simple for you guys, that's much easier, particularly if you're new to human design, to kind of comprehend the information. So that's your mind side and your body side. Then finally, you have this shadow chart. So this will show you where you're undefined or open and where you may be vulnerable to certain types of conditioning. These charts are very useful if you're coaching somebody, not so much I don't really use them for program or business charts. I use them if I'm coaching. So you can immediately see, so this is mine. Okay, I'm going to have a lot of conditioning in that open head center. So I might need more support around that. I have a lot of conditioning in this ego center. Really, really valuable for me to know when I'm launching, because I understand what conditioning I'm going to be vulnerable to when I'm launching. For instance, in a launch container, what I'm finding is that I am very vulnerable to picking up potential clients' defined will centers. So their sense of value, their self-worth, their desire, their competitiveness, the competitiveness to be kind of first through the door. I can pick that up really easily. So I've been working on understanding that and letting that go. That's not my energy. My job is to stay centered and to stay open in my ego center during a launch. So that's just a quick trip around that shadow chart, but they're really, really interesting charts. Okay, so if you don't have any more questions for me today, I am going to let you go. Thank you so much for your questions and taking us on that journey through those charts. I love talking about, you're so welcome, love talking about marketing and the conscious sun because it's a simple energy to access. So I hope you both enjoy the rest of your day. Julianne, I can't wait to hear what design your business is when you settle on that. And I'll pop this replay up in the group soon. So, for anyone that's watching the replay, Boundless opens to waitlisters 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, the 22nd, and to anyone that's not on the waitlist at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 22nd. And from now on, these calls will go to monthly. So the pop-up group will still be there, but I'll pop the next date up in the group so you can see when our next monthly meetup is. So thank you both. Thank you, Carissa, who was here earlier, Julianne and Lilith, and I will see you all soon. Thank you so much. Bye.